Welcome back to the channel, everybody. In today's video, I'm going to be presenting to you guys one more Ashen City build, the branded Ashened. This is actually a really good build around the branded pieces, as well as the fusions for the Vedas and the Embers of the Ashen, as well as the Super Polys. If you do this right, you won't have to worry about getting locked into Pyros until after you have your first build, which would be the branded part. But with that being said, let's get started onto the build. 3 Vados, the Eruption Dragon Destruction. During the main phase quick effect, you can target one card in the field zone, special summon that monster to your opponent's side of the field, and then destroy the field card. And then you can set one continuous Ashen trap card down. Very good to blow up boards. It's still very good against Fire Kings. They hate having their field card popped. And if you pop your own, then you can also run off the effect of Ashened, allowing you to special summon an Ashen monster from deck after that effect resolves. 3 Priestess of the Ashen City. During the main phase, if this card is over special summoned, you can add one Ashen card from your deck to your hand, and it can be special summoned if you have Ashened on the field. 1 Sphere Head. The Sphere Head is the effect of once per turn. If your opponent controls a monster 2000 more attack, you tribute this card and then target one card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. 1 Shaman for recycling. During the main phase, you can target 3 power monsters in your graveyard, shuffle back into the deck, and if you had added an Ashen card from your graveyard to your deck, you can add Ashened from your deck to your hand. 1 King has the effect that it can be special summoned with the effect of Ashened, as all Ashen monsters do. You can special summon an Ashen monster from your hand, or if your opponent controls a monster with 2000 attack or more, then you can special summon from the deck. And of course, 1 Hero, and that has the effect that quick effect, you can target one power monster your opponent controls and destroy it. And if you destroyed Vados, you could place one Ashened from your deck face up in your field zone. Now, that's all I have for the Ashen monsters, because I wanted to cut this deck down to a bare minimum. So we'll get straight into the branded cards. 2 Fallen of Albaz has the effect that you can discard one card and future summon one Fallen of Albaz monster. Special summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters on either field as fusion material, including this card. 2 Lubers, so that way you can help search out your branded spells. This card is over special summon. You can add one branded spell or trap directly from your hand, deck to your hand. If a face-up fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the card field because of your opponent's card effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, special summon this card, and if you do, negate the target monster's effects until the end of the turn. 1 Ad Libitum of Despia. During the main phase, you can make all monsters currently on the board gain attack equal to their own level by 100. Until the end of the opponent's turn. If this card is in your hand or field, used as material and sent to the graveyard or banished, you can target one of your Despia monsters or level 8 or higher fusion monsters that is banished from your graveyard and special summon it. 1 Golden Sword Soul, which has the effect that when a monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, negate the attack. Then, if you control a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz as material, you can destroy the monster that declared the attack. 1 Incredible Ecclesia, which is my favorite card for this build and for my Sword Soul build, and has the effect that if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon that to the field. Then you, quick effect, tribute this monster, special summon one Fallen of Albaz or one Sword Soul monster from your deck. But for this build, there's no Sword Soul, so I only run 1 just because I only need to get out Albaz maybe once if I don't have it in hand or if I don't have Brand Fusion. Next up is just the normal hand traps, Ash Blossom. Now onto the spells. 3 Awakening of Vados. That one is you place one Ashened, the Ashen City, from your deck face up in either field zone, and then if your opponent controls the field zone, you can add a level 5 or higher Dark Power monster from your deck to your hand. But for the rest of the turn, you're locked into Pyros from your extra deck. So honestly, for the branded, you definitely want to try and get out your Vados cards after you do your branded builds. Or if you have nothing but Vados cards, then do that. And then next turn, hopefully you draw into your Branded Fusion or your Aluber or Fallen of Albaz. Then 3 Obsidian, the Ashen City, has the effect that during your main phase, special summon monster opponent controls become pyro, and then at the end of the turn, if you have Obsidian in the graveyard, you can place it at the bottom of the deck and then draw a card. And if it's destroyed, you can special summon an Ashen monster from deck. 1 Rekindling the Ashen. Place one of your Ashen cards that's banished or in your graveyard at the bottom of the main deck, except for itself, and then target one effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. This is basically a recycling card, just like how my Shaman is. 1 Extinguishing the Ashen. That's a Foolish Burial. And also, you can add a card from your graveyard to your hand. It's send 1 dark power monster from your deck to your graveyard. Then you can add 1 level 5 or higher power monster from your graveyard to your hand. Of course, for the rest of the turn, you can only special summon Pyros from the extra deck. But this has the effect that you can banish it and then fusion summon using monsters from your hand and field. And that's it for the Ashen City spells. I run 2 Branded Fusions, which is fusion summon 1 fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz as material from your extra deck using 2 monsters from your hand, deck, or field as material. But you can special summon monsters from the extra deck except fusion monsters, which is okay because aside from 1 card in this whole extra deck, all of them are fusions anyways. 2 Branded Openings to help get back out monsters from the let's see. Get 1 from the deck and add to your hand, a special summon in defense position. And for us to turn, this card effect resolves. Can't special summon from the extra deck except fusion monsters. But if a fusion monster you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish that card from your graveyard instead, which gives your monsters protections. And the best part is, it doesn't say it has to be a branded fusion monster. So even if someone tries to destroy anything with your Vados or your Super Poly targets, you can banish that from your graveyard instead to protect any of them. And of course, 1 Branded Red. Target 1 Deathsphere monster or Fallen of Albaz in your graveyard and either add it to your hand. Then you can apply the following effect. Fusion summon 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your hand or field. But it cannot attack directly this turn. This card, basically, I only want to use this to get out possibly my Garden Chimera. Then, of course, 3 Super Polys, which has the effect that you discard 1 card from your hand and fusion summon monsters from your extra deck using monsters from either field or fusion materials, and neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. And 1 Call By, because ironically, you can run as much up to 30 hand traps in your deck, but can only have 1 Call By. Would really love to see this get bumped up to 2, at least maybe 2. For this traps, 1 Ashen for Eternity. When this card is activated, you can add a Vados or an Ashen card from your graveyard to your hand, and then during the main phase, if your opponent controls a monster that you own, you can take control of that monster. Then all the other monsters your opponent currently controls loses attack and defense equal to that monster you ripped from them, which is obviously going to be Vados. So take back your Vados, and pretty much a lot of the monsters your opponent may control at the time will probably be anywhere between 500 to less attack points. And of course, Ashen to Endlessness, that's the final Ashen trap. During the main phase, you can fusion summon 1 power monster from your extra deck using monsters from either side of the field. This card you want to activate during your turn only, so that way you can use all your opponent's monsters as fusion material, because they will all be Pyros. And then you can banish this card if this card gets banished from your graveyard, all monsters your opponent controls become Pyro monsters until the end of the turn. So to get that effect, you definitely want to use the Vados Fusion to destroy this in case your opponent activates a monster effect. Pop that to the graveyard and banish it maybe during the opponent's turn. But then it does you no good if you have no Super Polys or anything like that on the field. And then for the final trap cards, Imperms. This is a deck of 42 cards. I didn't know what else to cut down. I felt like everything I cut down was for a purpose, but the main 3 you definitely want to keep 3 of. Now on for the extra deck. We only have 1 XE monster, which is Infernal Flame Banshee, because there's just too much to even attempt to put Bonfire in this deck. And I didn't want to have too much of a deck, knowing full well it's not going to be easy to pull the cards you need. So this is in here instead. So that way you can at least search out for your priestess. And then, yeah, it's a pyro, so it won't be stopped by your Awaken of Vados. The only thing that stops this would be if you activate your Branded Fusion or Branded Opening. And then super poly targets, Garura, the Wings of Resonant Life, takes 2 monsters of the same type and attribute by different names. Any battle damage your opponent takes battling from this card will be doubled. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can draw a card. I think this is a card you can send from your extra deck to a graveyard with Dimensional Barrier. I think that's the card called. So that way you still get your draw effect. Mud Dragon of the Swamp takes 2 monsters with the same attribute but different types. Your opponent cannot target this card with or monsters on the field with the same attribute as this card, and quick effect, once per turn, you can declare 1 attribute. This card becomes that attribute. So that way if you have like all darks, you bring this out, declare dark, so that way he can't be affected by card effects either, as well as the rest of the monsters on your board. And now on to the branded package. I run 2 Mirror Jades because of the burn effect. While you control this fusion summon card, your opponent must pay 600 life points to activate cards or effects. If your opponent controls a Ritual, Fusion, or Synchro X or a Link material while this card is in the graveyard, quick effect, you can special summon it by banishing when it leaves the field. So it can also be brought back to life just because your opponent might have an extra deck monster on the field. On Albion, the Branded Dragon. If this card is Fusion Summoned, you can Fusion Summon 1 level 8 or lower Fusion monster from your extra deck, except for itself, just by banishing the materials mentioned from the card from your hand, field, and or graveyard. And during the end phase of this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add 1 branded spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Which was usually when I want to grab my branded opening, so that way I can get out the Aluber. They use the effect to special summon Aluber, use Aluber's effect to grab Branded Fusion, and then thus will stop you from having a normal summon a monster. And then you'll have your Branded Fusion to continue to rebuild your branded package. Then 1 Lubellion. If this card is Fusion Summoned, you can discard 1 card and Fusion Summon 1 level 8 or lower Fusion monster from your extra deck, except for itself, by shuffling the Fusion materials listed on it into the deck from your monsters on the field or graveyard, and and or face-up banish card. For the rest of this turn, this card cannot attack, but it doesn't matter because this card I want to use just to get out my Mirror Jade, because you can use it as material by putting it back into the extra deck. Let's see. Yep, it says here you also cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except fusion monsters. Predator Planet Dracosepalia. I forgot that these are more super poly targets. I kind of have the attacks listed from lowest attack to highest attack in my extra deck. So I forgot that was there. Once per turn, quick effect, target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Place 1 Predator counter on it, and if it is a level 2 or higher, it becomes level 1. As long as it has a Predator counter on it, and negates its effects. And then 1 Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. If this card is Fusion Summoned, you can make this card gain attack equal to 1 opponent's special summon monster until the end of this turn. Once per turn, you can target 1 level 5 or higher monster your opponent controls until the end phase. This card's name becomes that monster's name and replaces effects with his effects. If this Fusion Summon card is destroyed, you can destroy all your opponent's special summon monsters. So it's a board wipe if it gets destroyed. 1 Embers of the Ashened. If this card is Fusion Summon, you can target 1 field spell in your graveyard, add to your hand. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's Pyro monster, you can destroy that opponent's monster, and if it's during your turn, you can make a second attack in a row. Which, of course, if you have Obsidian on the field, all your opponent's monsters are going to be Pyro. So what you would do is target the monster, destroy it, and then attack again. 1 Vados, the Dragon of Endless Darkness. Cannot be destroyed by card effects. Also, your opponent cannot target it with monster effects. This card is Fusion Summoned. You can destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. And when your opponent activates a card or effect on the field, quick effect, you can send 1 face-up Ashen card you control to the graveyard, destroy that card. And then, of course, 1 Mirror Jade. I know a lot of people like to run 2 Mirror Jades in their branded decks, but It's this extra deck is already piled up as it is. I do have a lot of 2-ofs in here, but it's because of how good they are. But Mirror Jade's effect is you can only control one Mirror Jade once per Mirror Jade Dragon once per turn. You can quick effect send one fusion monster from your extra deck to the graveyard that mentions Fall of Albus and then banish one monster in the field. Also, this card cannot. This card cannot use this effect next turn. And if this fusion summon card leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Sorry, that little bubble makes things very hard to read. And of course, one Albion, the Sanctifier Dragon, cannot be used as fusion material. Your opponent cannot use this card, cannot target this card with card effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Albion, the Sanctifier Dragon once per turn. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can target 2 monsters in any graveyard, special summon both monsters, one to each field. If this card is in your graveyard, you can tribute 4 monsters, 2 in the extra monster zones, and 2 in the central main monster zones, and special summon this card back out. And then for the last of it, 2 Guardian Chimeras, which it's just too good to not have. Let's see. Must be a fusion summon using only fusion materials from the hand and field, with at least 1 monster from each. If this card is fusion summoned by a spell card or effect, you can draw cards equal to the number of cards as uses material from the hand, and if you do, destroy cards your opponent controls equal to the number of cards you use as material from the field. So this gets you your draws, field pop, and it's just a 3300 attack monster. And if you have polymerization in the graveyard, which I do not, but I think I just don't have enough room to do that, but you can add poly for yours. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. That's it for the build. Now on to at least a test hand. Let's see what we got. Okay, not a bad. Would rather that have been branded fusion, but not. Oh no, not too bad. Okay, let's see what we got here. First, activate Evados. Grab the Obsidian. Give it to your opponent. Shuffle. Then you'll add your Evados from your deck to your hand. Where are they at? There you are. Now I'm locked in the Pyros, which is okay. They control Obsidian, so I'll special summon Priestess. Activate Defective Priestess to add an Ashen card from deck to hand. Which I guess it can be. Let's see. King. Special summon King. Special summon Shaman. And now I will activate Vados to target the Ashen, give them the Vados, pop the Obsidian, the Ashen City, set the trap, which will be the Ashen to Endlessness. Obsidian will now special summon out an Ashen monster, which is going to be Hero of the Ashen City. Let's see. Now I'm going to set this. Normal summon the Luber, activate the Luber, and I will grab Branded Fusion for the next turn. Go to the end phase. Oh, that's right, I popped Obsidian. Okay, during your opponent's turn, during his main phase, activate Ashen Endlessness. And then we're going to tribute off, I would say, yeah, all of these here. Get out your Vados, the Dragon of Endless Destruction. So now you have a card to protect you from your opponent's monsters. Place these at 4,500. which actually is not such a bad hand. We're going to draw now. Oh, we got Priestess again. We could continue to build on the Ashen cards, but I think for now what we're going to do is we're going to activate our Brand of Fusion. We're going to get rid of our Alabaz and our Incredible Ecclesia as fusion material. Get out Albion the Brand Dragon. Activate Brand Dragon's effect. Banish. Alright, return this to the deck. I know that's right. This one's banished. Banish himself. And we'll banish our Fall of Alabaz. Get out our Mirror Jade. Activate Shaman's effect. We'll shuffle back our Vedas, our King, and our Hero. So that way we can also get out Obsidian. Add Obsidian back to hand. Activate Obsidian. Special Priestess. Priestess effect. Go ahead and just add back our Hero. Special Summon Hero. Activate Ashen Endlessness. And we'll just fusion these guys together. Get out our Ambers. Let's see, which one does this do again? Nope. Guess that does me no good right now since none of my Desperate monsters are in the graveyard. But with that, that should be more enough attack to blow into your opponent. You got 4,500, 2,900, 3,000. That's enough for end if your opponent controls no monsters after you activate Ashen Endlessness. Yeah. It is overall a pretty good deck, but it could use some tweaking. And anyone else that can think of any other kind of builds, please don't hesitate to ask. If you guys like this or not, let me know in the comment section down below. And until then, I'll see you on the next video.